What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Movie Emporium's TV review of Snowpiercer Season 3, Episode 9, A Beacon for Us All. This episode is directed by Christoph Schrewe. Now, before we begin, if you like this channel, awesome. Hit the subscribe button to join Movie Emporium. Hit that notification bell at the top to find what's coming next. If you like any of these videos, awesome. Hit that like button as well as commenting below on any video that you watch, including this one. So here we are on the penultimate episode, and usually, like I said, penultimate episodes have the big moment, the big thing that is going to be the catalyst for the season finale. And of course, what would they do but bring back Melanie, Jennifer Connelly's character? Now, with that said, how they handle Jennifer Connelly's Melanie character is interesting. Don't know if I like it, but it is definitely a way to handle a character, to be fairly honest. But this episode is a lot of getting to the conclusion, having the lie exposed, and just kind of coming to a head to the point where something has to happen. There's going to be a big payoff for the ending usually, and yeah, that's where we're leaning, because in this episode, for the most part, is the rescue of Melanie. Melanie, we learn, has been in this kind of vehicle that moves along the track. She's been keeping herself in stasis through the different tubes and stuff she's been put in her so she can, keep herself alive for hope of rescue and stuff like that. As we see from the beginning of the episode, that's what they're doing. They have a ping on her, where her location. They're looking for her. Like I said, we see 3 months prior to when, of course, Melanie was in that pod and how she was working and everything. And the rescue happens pretty quickly and easily, I guess you could say. It takes like 10 or 15 minutes to get to that point, but for the most part, it is pretty easily done. They wrap some chains around the vehicle or whatever that she's in. They pull her up like, a lift or whatever, pull her into the vehicle, into Snowpiercer itself. She, of course, is brought to the ER, the medical bay or whatever, and she's revived. She's brought back, she's pretty much brought back to her normal self for the most part. But it was a good moment. We've been waiting for Melanie for, 8, 9 episodes now, ever since Wilford left her. She seems to have a good, a lot of good moments where she reconnects with a lot of people that she loves, like Aleks and Bennett and, to an extent, Layton and stuff like that. And yeah, it's kind of nice. She's brought up to the engineer's car to kind of look around, things she hasn't seen for quite a few months now, and it's just a really nice way to introduce back into the fold Melanie's character. Now, from here on out, it may not necessarily go very well, to be fairly honest, and we'll talk about that. But before we get into the major stuff with Melanie, I just kind of want to introduce that stuff. I want to talk about a couple plot points that are going on, which are, say for what there were. I don't know if I really like them very much, but you have this plot point with Bess and Audrey, which is fine. The romance is there, but I don't have a problem with romances in shows, but this romance is kind of too quickly. It seems out of place, to be fairly honest, in the sense that they need to have like this relationship with every character who's down on their luck, and it needs to be something that just kind of comes out of the blue. And I know they've been kind of talking with one another, but it really feels like what they did with Layton last season, where Bess really has nothing to do. She feels like a background character. The only reason she even exists at this point is for Audrey, and who knows if Audrey's really kind of gone back to the light side, as I would call it. She was on the dark side with Wilford, but who knows, because we, at the end of this episode, it could make her kind of like tricking Bess and stuff like that, but we'll see how that happens. And then we have LJ and John. This is a really weird subplot that has been running through the season. I know LJ is definitely playing sides in the series. She has been from the very beginning, but at this point, LJ's kind of plot device is what she is. She's a plot device at this moment, and John's just kind of a background plot device, is to get her back realigned with Wilford. She's playing both sides, so she's like one of those individuals that has the goods that she can get. She knows where she can get them at, and she gives this woman a little vial, which we find out is given to, of course, Wilford. And John starts questioning what exactly she's doing. He actually follows her, and we see the doctor from earlier that peeled the skin off her leg, and she is in essence given this vial that she gives to that other person. And John confronts her about just what is she doing, and of course LJ goes complete psycho on John and uses, like, pretty much pulls a knife on him and like starts moving around his arteries that could kill him. And I don't know how I feel about these characters anymore. They just feel kind of inconsequential, I guess you could say. It just feels like a plot device moving a plot type of situation. I used to love her character because I felt she was a really interesting developed character, but now she's just kind of the bad guy that can do whatever she wants whenever she wants, and I guess you have to have that to move the plot along. But John's character for goes to Sam to try and tell about what LJ's doing, about that whole idea of there's something brewing coming later on, but I don't. This is what brings down this episode, is just these plot devices that really don't have any semblance of intrigue or interest. They're just there for characters that have character, stuff in the show because they're main characters, or a way to get to the main situation, which is Wilford and Melanie and Layton and stuff like that. So I wanted to get those out of the way. I feel they're just not really that great, to be fairly honest. I don't think they justify themselves at all, especially the John and LJ stuff. You could have literally anybody of any car. You could have random person number 3 be like this, but they made LJ like this. They could really do something interesting with their character, and all they're giving her is mustache twirling bad guy, which is what Wilford is, but they're trying to give her that to make her more substantial, and it's not working. And it's a shame because I really thought at the beginning of the season they would have something really interesting to do with her, but it's not that interesting. Pike had a much more interesting arc in the season than she did, or she has, I should say, at this point. We'll see what happens to her character at the end of the next episode, which is the final season finale for this season. But yeah, it's kind of a shame and a downer a little bit, but there are other small bits and pieces. Layton talks to Bennett about Josie, and knowing that Bennett and Josie and stuff like that, he's like, don't be like me, don't wait forever to tell who you love that you love them, like he did with Melanie. Just do it. And he tells Josie, but she feels that they're not really, they've kind of lost a lot of stuff in their life through the traumatic events that have happened in the past 3 years, throughout the events of the last 8 years. And she's like, I don't think it would work. It's just one of those things, unfortunately. But, it may pay out later on. Like he talks about, he and Zara just have a baby relationship. They're just there for the baby, and that's pretty much it. And I don't know. We'll see what happens with that. It's really not that interesting. It's not really that intriguing, I guess you could say. And of course, there's this small moment with Melanie and Alex. They finally have, kind of embraced once again. They're going to this party that I'll talk about in a second. But she's like freaking out about like what she'll wear, to impress Carly. And Melanie can kind of see that there's an attraction between Alex and Carly, so she talks to her about that, and then she brings up what we'll talk about in a few seconds. But I like that. That is a small moment that I do like, because Alex is one of these individuals that's been kind of, I want to say, in a corner, not really given a chance to grow as a teenager. So therefore, these things are really weird to her, really different to her, and it's kind of a nice moment between mother and daughter that kind of allows itself to work out a little bit. And there's, like I said, at the party when Carly and Alex Carly's introduced, and to Melanie and stuff like that. That's the type of relationship that's fine. I like how it works out. Hopefully, it's blossoms into something bigger. But yeah, it's a really nice moment. I really enjoyed. So that brings into the big crux of this episode. So we have Melanie, who's now been brought back to Snowpiercer, like we talked about. She wants to go. She's been looking over the notes and the computer about this Horn of Africa thing, and about New Eden and stuff like that. And she wants to talk to Wilford and ask him why she was brought back, because they would never have known this if it weren't for Wilford. And Wilford talks to Melanie, and basically he is using manipulation. I don't think he's changed at all, but he doesn't believe that, of course, Layton is giving all the information. He knows that he's lying. This is not really comfortable with what Melanie thinks. So she starts questioning what basically Wilford has put in her head about, not actually, if they go towards New Eden, it could be tragic because of the whole track situation. And if they leave this current track situation they're on, it could be deadly to the whole entire Snowpiercer crew, which is understandable if it weren't for Wilford saying it. If it were something that Melanie kind of developed on her own, I would understand the position that she ends up finding herself in at the end of the episode. But it lays a seed in her head about doubt about this New Eden situation, which I think if Melanie had been there from the beginning, or from season 2, the beginning of season 3, I think it would have been a much more different series at this point, different season. But as we know, she wasn't. That leads into Melanie starting to question everybody about this particular situation. She really doesn't feel that this is a optimal situation that they should be in. She talks to Layton, and she knows that this whole thing, that she's been brought up to speed. She knows that this is not really a truthful situation that he's put themselves in, and is a little worrisome. They decide they're going to have a party Melanie to celebrate them going to New Eden, leaving the tracks final, I guess you could say, and they're getting right past the pyramids of Egypt. And the party is, the party is a party. They're bringing up all the champagne, Ruth's getting everything together as she usually does, and it's a really nice, extravagant party where everybody, drinks and has fun and talks and is excited about New Eden. And Melanie keeps telling everyone, it's like, she keeps telling Bennett and Layton, like, this isn't a good idea. This is not a proven situation. She even tells Aleks, she's like, what there's like a 60% chance, 80% chance. You don't know exactly what you're going to see, which is fine. I have no problems with that. And it brings us back to Wilford, who, because he's locked up, he can't have his own party or whatever. So he decides he's given the vial by that woman, and he's later on, he opens up the humidor, which is where all the cigars are, and he offers a cigar to each individual security officer as a way to celebrate. We know there's something more to it, and they smoke, and this is when Melanie, at the point, decides she's going to leave the party while everybody, celebrates and has fun with the idea of, the pyramids flying by for the last time in Snowpiercer. And she actually goes into the announcement car train, and she lets loose on the place of Snowpiercer, how this is a different Snowpiercer. It's a Snowpiercer that's free, but it's also built on lies. And she finally reveals that Snowpiercer has been given a lied course, and that Layton and the crew have been lying to people, which sets off people like Sam and everybody who doesn't know. And in essence, she decides she's going to take back Snowpiercer. Now that everyone in Snowpiercer knows, they're going to probably rebel against Layton as this happened. Layton's pushed the buttons of people, and he's turned into Wilford a little bit, to be fairly honest. But they, Layton and Bennett decide they're going to run to the engineer's car, and then we see Javier, who's pissed off because, of course, he's been lied to, and of course Melanie, and they lock them out of the engineer's car, and they take over Snowpiercer. In a nutshell, I guess you could say. That leads, of course, Melanie to have a discussion with Bennett over, this whole situation. And Bennett basically feels betrayed by her, and she feels betrayed by him. It's a not good situation. There's been a lot of stuff that's happened to Melanie that's kind of caused her brain to have a little bit of a switch, I guess you could say. And she's not really the same person she was. But the thing about that's really interesting is once Layton decides, we're going to have to see who's on our side and see who's not on our side, it leads Melanie to go to confront Wilford, and they find the door to the library. I call it the library, but I'm not sure if that's what it's called. Open. The security guards are dead. Is missing. So this next episode, or the season finale, is going to be quite interesting. But this leads to a lot of theories about Wilford. Either he's not going to make it, he's going to take back over the train, and it's just going to repeat the whole same scenario all over again. Or it's going to come to a head where Melanie's going to die. Somebody's dying at the end of this season. I guarantee somebody big is going to die, whether it be Layton or Melanie or Wilford. It is interesting to bring Melanie back, but she's not safe. She's an individual that has now betrayed the people that she loves. And now Melanie's been kind of corrupted by Wilford, which I find kind of interesting if you think about it. But, we'll see what happens. Like I said, if someone doesn't die, it won't be a surprise. If someone does die, it won't be a surprise. We're at that season finale where big things, I'm sure, are going to change. But I really hope they do, because I don't want to repeat the same thing over and over and over. It's rather boring at this point to just go back into season 4 and just be the kind of the same nonsense where Layton is trying to take on Wilford, or Wilford's trying to take on Layton, or whatever happens. Like I said, I think someone's going to die, but yeah, that's kind of where the story ends. That's where the episode ends. It's problematic in a lot of the, what I would call, side storylines, the sub storylines. They just don't feel very fleshed out. They don't feel like these characters are given much love. There's a much bigger story playing out, but it feels like if you want that story to play out, you got to have some really interesting defined characters, and some of the ones that were interesting are now blasé, I guess you could say, or plain and boring, and I just don't like it. I don't like how Snowpiercer handles characters each season. It's boring. It doesn't make any sense, and really feels like sometimes they don't have a grasp on what they're doing. It doesn't make the episode bad, because the stuff with the main storyline is interesting. It is actually different, but if it continues on its path, it could just be the same stuff over and again, and it really bothers me a little bit. Like I said, I'll still continue with Snowpiercer because I still find it intriguing and interesting as a fun show. But as a hard-hitting, well-developed show, it struggles many times throughout each episode in different seasons to get to its point. So with that said, that is going to be my overall take on this episode, which I'm going to give an 8.5 out of 10. I want to give it higher, but those subplots are just so frustrating and boring and don't really justifiable the sense of what they're doing. So, but yeah, that'll do it. That'll be my take on this review. Like I say, 8.5 out of 10 for Snowpiercer Season 3, Episode 9, which is a beacon for us all. Comments below. What do you think of the episode as always? What do you think about the subplots? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? All that good stuff. Where do you think the season finale is going to land? Do you think someone's going to die? What is your overall feeling on how that's going to play? So let me know in the comments. Otherwise, thank you so much. If you like what you see on this channel, hit the subscribe button to join Movie Emporium. Hit that notification bell at the top to find what's coming next. If you like this video, awesome. Hit that like button. And yeah, we'll see you guys on the season finale of Snowpiercer. Peace out.